kind of stole a line from you, Robert. I'm gonna ask in your style. Tell us, who are you?
I'm Apple's first child laborer. That's sort of how I got started in this whole mess. In 1977, my mom got a job from Hildy Licht to build Apple II motherboards in our house, and she taught me to solder on this in 1978. I interviewed Woz in front of Berkeley's business school, and he said they ran out of factory capacity for building because they had more orders for the Apple II than they could keep up with. And so they hired Hildy Licht. Hildy Licht still has a contract business here in Silicon Valley. She'll make you contract electronics. And she hired a bunch of housewives around Silicon Valley to do this. And my mom was one of them.
Following you is definitely following the whole technology arena of Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, I have I have the best Twitter list in the business. If you haven't seen my Twitter list, I have mapped out the entire industry, particularly the AI industry.
Yes.
I've gone through 3,600 companies and put them all in groups so that people can understand what's going on here. You're going to ask me how to do the math to make an LLM? No, that's not me. That's my friend. I have friends who do that. I'm reading everything in the industry and trying to read between the lines because these people talk in a technical language and they don't care about talking to the end user, right? They're talking to other researchers who are they're trying to get to use their models or all that. And
You're like a bridge to
yeah,
connect
I'm
with
trying to
people.
convert that to English a little
Yeah.
bit. You know,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Talk developer talk. The developers talk a language to themselves. They
Exactly.
don't exactly talk to a farmer in Kansas. Those two people don't. They're oil and water. So I try to
Hmm.
convert.
I'm curious to know about Neuralink. Yesterday, it released its first product called Telepathy. It
Yeah,
says using
first
that we can, right, right. It says using that we can control our phones, computer just by thinking.
yeah.
Talk about where it is leading to and how it can transform the world.
I saw brain surgery one time when the surgeon had a patient that was awake. You can watch stuff like this on YouTube, by the way. And the
Hmm.
patient was
Hmm.
awake, and the surgeon had a stick in his hand and was probing the brain. And he would touch the brain, and the guy's hand would go up involuntarily, right? So you as a human being are a machine of some kind. You're not a machine like a digital machine. You're a unique biological machine, but you are a machine. And if you can figure out how that brain works, you can put a wire on it, right? So now a wire is on that part of the brain and can make your hand go up and down. Well, if you don't have a hand, now you can
Hmm.
make your robot go up and down, right?
I think this is
And
crazy.
that's exciting stuff for people who have brain injuries. That's spinal cord injuries or Parkinson's stuff like that. Parkinson's, your hand
Paralyzed.
shake,
Right.
right? You can't feed yourself. You go to the doctor and go, man, my life is miserable. I can't feed myself. My hands shake so much I can't even hold a cup of water. That's not a good life. And the doctor goes, you need a surgery. You need to put a wire in your brain. Oh, what? Yeah, you need to put a wire in your brain. I've met the
Mhm.
surgeons who do this. They put a wire in your brain and turn it on, and it stops your hands from shaking, right? Now, the surgeons, I had dinner with them last year. The surgeons said, now we're asking the patients, how many wires do you want? Do you
Mhm.
just want one? Or do you want 32,000 from Neuralink Company?
I got a really, really interesting story to tell you.
Yeah.
Pre-ChatGPT, my friend asked me to build some stuff which the system needed some level of contextual understanding. I told him this is not going to happen at least for next 10 years. Fast forward, all things changed, like the perspective changed. Tell us what was your thought process pre-ChatGPT and how it changed post-ChatGPT.
Yeah. ChatGPT changed. I mean, my psychiatrist uses ChatGPT to listen to her patients in therapy sessions. Highly HIPAA compliant. Um, but she built a system that does this and writes notes live while she's having the meeting. and the notes are
Right.
highly detailed scientific notes. It replaces what she had to do before by hand. It really helps her life, and it catches things that she misses. She told me now that she has this system working on her patients. She's tracking patients over weeks, right, and seeing how they progress with their mental health. And one guy was talking in some of the meetings about some psoriasis he had, and he was also saying, I'm feeling down. The computer noticed that and said, you know what, psoriasis is a indicator for depression. You should pay more attention to the psoriasis,
Right.
right? She says that in a few years it's going to be malpractice not to use AI in mental
Mhm.
health discussions like this because it catches
Right.
things that
Right. Right. I believe.
it also gives the human the ability to actually listen to the conversation and provide a far better level of care than if they have to have their hand in a notebook taking furious notes on you,
Right. Right.
right? And notes have errors, and because people aren't always good at note taking, right? The computer's really good at
Right.
listening to writing notes, so that's a good lesson.
Hmm.
You're prime.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about text to video now. I recently saw the pretty cool use of Runway's motion brush to generate and animate things.
They're close to real, but they're not quite there. All right. So how long do we need before they're really real? Let's say it's 4 years. In the next 4 years, maybe there's somebody like Robert Rodriguez. I had dinner with this guy named Robert Rodriguez. He made the
Mm,
movie Spy Kids, right? And when he got to Hollywood, he his first movie cost $7,000 and made a couple $1 million. And
right.
because
Right.
he did that, he deeply changed Hollywood and how they do all sorts of things. What he what
Hmm.
he was an innovator who saw how to use technology to make entertainment cheaper,
Mm,
right? And that's
right.
the disruption. And we're getting very disruptive new technologies that can make movies cheaper. So if I was working inside the movies, like at Universal Studios or something like that, I'd be considering this in a big way to make movies.
People about the
This
crazy imagination can like come out and really build exciting stuff in film
Yeah, it could
industry.
give you new camera angle. For instance, I know this guy who built Fable Studios, Edward Sachi. He used to work at Oculus and spun out and started a VR studio, and he made a thing called Wolves in the Walls, and he won an Emmy for this. So pretty good. Wolves in the Walls is like a movie, but you're in the movie, and the movie is talking to you, and characters in the movie are coming up to you and talking to you and having a conversation with
Right.
you and handing you things. It's fucking insane,
Mm.
right? That thing cost $15 million. Edward Sachi told me the budget. He said just what you saw was $15 million. That's way too expensive because there's not enough
Right.
headsets yet, not enough audience to cover that kind of cost. With generative AI, he can come along and make a 3D scene probably next year that does the same thing for almost nothing, right? That's a huge shift in capabilities for human beings to make entertainment properties for people.
In one of your recent tweets, you said you met a VC in New York who has a couple of billion in his fund, said his door is wide open for Apple Vision Pro developers. Is that a big sign for the Apple Vision Pro development market?
It's expected. When the rich people start buying something, investors start getting interested because they see a market and they see a growing market, and that's the necessary conditions for doing investment in some startup that's going to build something for it, right?
Mhm.
The reviews are coming in, and they're fairly good. To me, this year isn't about getting a mass market; it's about getting developers excited. And as I was traveling the world, interviewing all these startups, like in Israel and Germany and other places that were doing augmented reality like 12 years ago, and then Apple bought all
Mhm.
those companies. They bought all the best companies. They disappeared.
That's what the big companies do.
They suck things up and they chew them up. Yeah. Now, Siri was launched in my house, right? And I told him in the interview, hey, you're going to get bought by a big company. Well, Apple bought it. That was the first AI consumer app. That's why I'm in the middle of this
Right,
thing. So,
right, right, right.
And by doing all this journalistic video work and books and stuff like that, I get to see things before the big companies want people to see them, right? I see
Yes.
patterns. But the real thing that the industry hasn't really figured, insiders have figured out, but normal people have no idea. There's a lot of
Hmm.
AI imprinting on your head on that device.
Yes. Yes.
What
Yeah.
21% of the M2 chip that's on that processor and is running my iMac in front of me, 21% is for neural. It doesn't do anything except for AI. And in my house,
Mm.
I have three of these chips, and they're not being used in my house. And I'm one of the top AI influencers in the world. That's a big lesson for everybody. There's a lot to
Right.
come.
This is the old quote that I say to a lot of like panels, and I've said this before.
Mm.
Any policy change is one good government away,
Mm.
or like one good public outrage away.
Hmm.
There is if there is enough demand for like self-driving cars, then there will be,
Okay.
because technically no one can stop anything from happening.
Hmm.
If it's something that the world wants to happen,
Hmm.
then it will happen.
Yeah.
I, I got a tour of Mumbai on the back of a scooter. A guy who runs the biggest Google user group in India.
Hmm.
My life is a little strange, but he was showing me how traffic works and how humans navigate there. It's different than in America.
Right.
Indians don't stay in channels. They don't stay in lanes. They flow more like
Mm.
a blood cell. A blood cell going from your heart down to your fingers, right, gets squeezed into smaller and smaller and smaller veins and then capillaries, right? And India works
Mm.
the same way. They flow together. And by the way, when they get squeezed together, like if a road goes from really wide to really narrow and everybody's getting squeezed together, they start honking at each other, honking so that you can use your ears just to sense how close everybody is. It's really interesting.
Mm.
And all of that can be turned into an AI, right? That drives you. I can see how a computer scientist is going to train a system to drive in India, just like a system will
Hmm.
drive here in the Western world. It'll have different set of rules, be trained on different things, but it's the same thing. It'll get there.
Got it.
So this stuff has to get cheaper and more reliable, and there has to be a lot more compute. Yeah, not a lot more, but let's say 3 to 5 times more compute than is in my Model 3. It's coming.
Got it.
Stay alive.
Yes. Let's wait.
In 1989, Steve Wozniak showed me his color printer. It was the first color printer I'd ever seen in Silicon Valley. It cost $45,000. He was running Photoshop One, and he had a 400 megabyte RAM drive. That also cost $45,000. So he spent basically $100,000 just to run Photoshop One. Well, today a phone does way better, and the HP $70
Yes.
printer sitting on my desk is way better than that printer, right? So can't afford something today in technology, just stay alive. It gets cheaper because that's Moore's law.